Greetings to the ECSA President, Vice President, Governing Council, Chief Executive Officer, Executive Team, staff members, and our stakeholders at large. Welcome to the Engineering Council of South Africa's 4th Annual Stakeholder Briefing. My name is Munaka Pathichedzo, Lead Specialist, Business Performance and Reporting, and I will be your Program Director for this session. This session aims to provide an overview of our performance for the fiscal year 2024-2025 from both the organizational and financial perspective, highlighting the progress and milestone reached, as well as plans looking ahead. To officially open the briefing, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the ECSA 7th Term Council President, Mr. T.C. Madikane, to deliver his keynote address. Mr. President, over to you.
Thank you, Program Director. Registered person, members of recognized voluntary association, higher education institutions present, employers and engineering practitioners present, members of the 7th Term Council, the executive management of ECSA, ECSA employees, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me start by passing apologies for our Vice President and the CEO due to emergencies. It gives me a pleasure to present an overview of our performance for the 24-25 fiscal year. This is the 4th stakeholder briefing since its inception in 2022. The main purpose of this session is for us as the Engineering Council to be held accountable to our stakeholders, also to be transparent in terms of what we do as the Engineering Council of South Africa. It is also my first briefing as the President of the 7th Term Governing Council, having taken office on the 24th of April to provide governance oversight over the strategic intent of Council. This entails reviewing and monitoring the policies developed and implemented, as well as the plans, programs, and projects to ensure that they are achieving expected results, representing good value for money, and following applicable policies, laws, regulations, and ethical standards. I take over the reins from our immediate past President, Engineer Refilwe Buthelezi, who laid a strong foundation of excellence, impact, and transformation of the profession. Dr. Bodma will provide a detailed outline of the annual performance, but I would like to draw the context from the revised 23-25 strategic plan that informed the key performance areas for the current financial year, as I've indicated that we're talking about 24-25. Just to recap, in terms of our strategic plan for 23-25, it revolves around the renewal and the growth expressed in a mission-driven cycle of renewal to bolster ECSA long-term sustainability. This theme of renewal was centered on 6 key performance areas to achieve the desired goals for renewal. And these performance areas include 1, developing improved internal capabilities through learning and staff engagement. 2, understanding and endorsing relevant national policy imperative that aligns with ECSA's mandate. 3, ensuring ECSA's compliance, accountability, sustainability through active management of cost, revenue growth, and the attraction of partner investment. 4, building and renovating internal processes and systems to deliver excellent service standards. 5, enhancing stakeholder relationships through engagement and renewed service promise to build stakeholder loyalty. The last one, the 6th one, growing ECSA's mandate depth and the coverage of the profession. The key goal was to be able to translate these key performance areas into tangible areas of improvement for the implementation of the revised organizational strategy and embracing the internal capabilities to achieve the following. 1, ensure mandate fulfillment. You will hear me now and again referring to mandate now and again, because it's important in whatever we do, we are driven by the mandate which is in the EPA, the Engineering Professions Act. 2, translate the key performance areas into the demand of the renewal and the growth within the sustainable constraints. 3, prioritize stakeholders through renewed processes and achieve excellence and stakeholder loyalty. 4, improve processes and service excellence to translate into realized growth potentially to the benefit of both internal and external stakeholders. At the center of this strategy was creating an environment where stakeholders are served effectively through robust process, systems, policies, and capacitated staff, all aligned with the Engineering Profession Act. It is also important just to remind ourselves about the mandate of the Engineering Council of South Africa, because there are expectations that ECSA should do certain things, but we have to work within the constraints of our mandate. The Engineering Council of South Africa is mandated by the Engineering Profession Act to regulate the engineering profession through 11 mandated functions, namely: 1, setting standards for engineering education and competency. 2, registering engineering practitioners across all categories. 3, developing code of conduct and professional practice. 4, recognizing voluntary associations. We've got more than 55 recognized voluntary associations. 5, recommend scope of engineering work to the Council of Built Environment, CBE. 6, publishing guideline fees and the scope of work annually. We have recently gazetted the fees, which is one of the key milestones that we have achieved as the Engineering Council of South Africa. 7, accredit tertiary engineering programs and maintaining a national register for competent practitioners. 8, investigate misconduct and enforce accountability. 9, entering international recognition agreements. 10, regulating continuing professional development, commonly known as CPD. And the last one, advising government on the engineering profession. These functions define our operating boundaries and cement ECSA as a regulator and assuring public safety. In line with these mandated functions, we have strived for excellence as we execute our core functions. Let's have a look in the past 3 years, what have we achieved as the Engineering Council of South Africa. We have strengthened our regulatory and service offerings through notable achievements. Number 1, gazetting of identification of engineering work rules, aligning with the national imperative of professionalization of the public sector. 2, conducting national roadshows to raise awareness and gather input on the identification of engineering work. I must commend the executives. They've worked tirelessly. Each executive was given a province to be in charge of, and they've worked tirelessly in terms of executing these national roadshows. We've grown our register in 22-23 from 52,025 to 55,009 in 24-25. We've increased the new candidate engineering registration in 22-23. The number was 2,690. In 24-25, the number was 3,590. And I must also indicate that in doing that, we have also transformed our database to reflect improved gender, race, and age diversity. And it's also imperative to note that we have maintained financial sustainability through strong controls and identifying growth opportunities. We have also strengthened stakeholder engagement through VA President's Forum and the Dean's Forum. We have revived the President's Forum, and I would also like to commend the President's Forum, the attendance and the level of engagement on those President's Forums. It's quite commendable, and we are implementing some of the recommendations that are coming from those President's Forum. We appreciate their participation. We have also preserved our standing with the International Engineering Alliance, commonly known as IEA, and increasing the representation in the governing structure. Currently, we have 2 members who are representing the Engineering Council of South Africa in that structure. And as part of preserving our high standards, next year we are hosting the International Engineering Meetings in Cape Town in June. We were supposed to host these meetings in 2020, but due to COVID, we couldn't host them. The last one, sustaining relationships with the African engineering bodies. With our ECSA IPP, the immediate past president, currently serving as the president of the Federation of African Engineering Organization, FAO. We're strengthening our relationship at the African level, and we are fortunate to have Madam Rufilwe serving as the FAO president. Looking ahead, ECSA now is gearing in efforts towards Vision 2030, a 5-year strategy rooted in customer-centric through improved engagement, process, services, and systems. I'm sure some of you have seen in our social media platforms in terms of what we've been doing in improving our processes, etc. While 23-25 focused on developing and improving processes and systems, 25-2030 strategy will position ECSA as a world-class regulator. Key priorities include 1, expanding engagement platforms from real-time services and query resolution, digitizing processes to enhance user experience. I'm sure most of you have seen our new website, and we've received positive feedback regarding that website. 3, professionalizing the engineering fraternity by ensuring all practitioners are registered. The issue of professionalization is one of the key mandates for our government. I recently attended a summit, and the president of the country was also emphasizing the issue of professionalization of the sector. And as part of our strategy for 2030, professionalization is one of the key issues. The fourth one, introducing enforcement mechanism for identification of engineering work rules. The fifth one, addressing backlogs in appeals and misconduct cases to strengthen the regulation. Colleagues, in conclusion, despite challenges, we remain committed to regulating the profession, serving our stakeholders with excellence, and we appreciate the comments and the feedbacks that we receive, whether it's on LinkedIn or any social media platforms, and we take those feedbacks very serious. I thank you for your patience and support as we continue to fulfill our mandates and deliver improvement year after year. I thank you. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, President, for that wonderful keynote address. Colleagues, please note that you can use the chat section to send us through your questions. We will be moving to the next item on our program, which is the annual performance of the 2024-2025 organizational performance, which we are going to be provided or addressed by the Executive Statutory Services, Dr. Francisca Bothma. Dr. Bothma, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Program Director, and thank you to our Council President for the introduction. Good morning to all our Governing Council members, to our ECSA management and staff members, and to all ECSA stakeholders. It is indeed a privilege for me to present to you the annual performance report for the 24-25 financial year. I've been given all of 30 minutes to present to you the highlights, colleagues, so I will really try to stick to my script. I can use half an hour just to expound on the amazing staff that we have and all that ECSA has achieved. But let me move on and just tell you that I will take you through a summary of ECSA's overall organizational performance. We'll be focusing on the 6 strategic program imperatives for the financial year, and then I will conclude with a brief outlook for the year ahead and an overview of the ECSA 2025-2030 strategy. So by way of an introduction, it is important to note that the 24-25 time period marked the conclusion of the ECSA midterm strategy. It was the cycle 23-25, which was underpinned by the theme renewal for growth. Over these 2 financial years, ECSA concentrated on refining its processes and preparing for a new system designed to strengthen service delivery to all of our stakeholders and to better support the organization's growth trajectory. While many of the benefits of this work only began to materialize in this year, in 2025, and this will become more and more evident in 2026, the extensive efforts behind the scenes during the period covered by this period have been both significant and worthwhile, albeit very demanding. The 6 strategic imperatives pursued throughout the 24-25 financial year are closely tied to ECSA's statutory mandate, while the core functions of higher education program accreditation, registration, and CPD compliance, key drivers for growing and maintaining the database of registered persons, are well known. ECSA also focused on strengthening its organizational capability to assure engineering excellence in the public interest, to regulate and uphold professional standards, conduct, and practice, to recognize and meaningfully engage our voluntary associations, and to regulate and assure definitions and fees for engineering work. ECSA performed exceptionally well in the 24-25 financial year. Since the introduction of the balanced scorecard in 22-23, annual performance has risen steadily from 64% in 22-23 to 81% in 23-24, and reaching an impressive 91% by the end of 24-25 financial year. I want to note that in terms of KPIs, the ECSA divisions were collectively responsible for 198 KPIs, of which 180 were successfully achieved. I would like to take the opportunity to express thanks first and foremost to a good and a gracious God, in whose powerful hands we place our organization and our staff. And I extend my heartfelt thanks to a CEO who is really, really a person who leads from the front. Very, very thankful for Dr. Bridget Samula for her exceptional leadership during challenging times. My fellow executives also deserve recognition for their unwavering commitment to building a stronger ECSA, one that serves our engineering community with excellence. I won't name them all by name, but really a heartfelt thank you for each of your contributions. I will also later in the slideshow just speak to our staff. Turning to the growth of the database through new registrations, this slide presents comparative data for professionally registered persons and new registrations in ECSA specified categories. ECSA has really experienced consistent growth in new registrations for professional engineers, for engineering technologists, and for certificated engineers. However, you will see that two categories have not followed the upward trend: professional engineering technicians and persons registered in specified categories. These categories recorded the lowest number of new registrations in the 24-25 year when compared to the preceding 2 years. The strong year-on-year growth in registration for professional engineers and engineering technologists aligns well with global professionalization trends, and ECSA really remains mindful of the national need to increase the pool of professional engineering technicians to address critical skill shortages. Over the next 2 financial years, targeted efforts will be directed towards improving the conversion of candidate technicians to professional status. In examining the growth of new candidate registrations during 24-25, ECSA recorded substantial increases across all categories, with the year delivering the highest number of new candidate registrations to date. ECSA recognizes, however, that candidate registrations without subsequent progression to professional status is not the ultimate objective. Much of the surge in candidate registrations can be attributed to the widely communicated identification of engineering work rules, which require at a minimum, excuse me, colleagues, candidacy registration in order to practice in the sector. Candidacy is indeed only the second step in the engineering practitioner's career journey, graduation being the first. ECSA will therefore prioritize strengthening support programs and interventions to improve conversion rates from candidate to professional status as the organization continues to grow and to mature. As at 31 March 2025, the database, as noted by our Council President, reflected a total of 55,009 registrations. It is important to note, colleagues, at this stage that a single individual can hold more than one registration. For example, a professional engineer or a professional technologist may also hold registration in one of the ECSA specified categories. The next slide illustrates the racial transformation evident in the database of registered persons. At the end of the 24-25 financial year, just under 50% of registrants were African, approximately 39% were white, while with smaller proportions represented across other racial groups. Compared with the previous financial years, ECSA recorded over 30% growth in the number of African people, just above 19% growth among colored registrants, approximately 12% growth for Indian registrants, and around 6% growth for Asian registered persons. Gender transformation also showed marked improvement. At the end of the 24-25 year, a total of 10,263 women were registered with ECSA, up to 8,002 in the 23-24 year, and this positive trajectory reflects the impact of targeted gender transformation initiatives. Turning now to the ECSA statutory function of engineering program accreditation and engagement with higher education institutions and relevant international bodies. Over the past 3 financial years, ECSA has endorsed 30 new engineering programs, and to be mindful that while program endorsement is not regulated by the EPA, it is required by the CHE for programs that lead to professional registration. In terms of accreditation, which formally recognizes the substantial equivalence of engineering programs to the IEA Accords and national standards, ECSA accredited 148 programs over the same period. The Dean's Forum continues to serve as a strategic platform for engagement with higher education institutions. These sessions are consistently well attended and play a critical role in ensuring effective communication, as well as providing a channel for institutions to raise challenges experienced in teaching and learning environments. One of the most significant outcomes of these engagements during the fiscal year was the development of example evidences aligned to ECSA's competency outcomes, and these examples offer academics clear guidance when preparing their applications for professional registration. Turning to international relations, this is something Mr. Nomalo looks after. ECSA continues to maintain its affiliation with the International Engineering Alliance and remains a signatory to the 3 educational accords and the 3 competency agreements. ECSA underwent its IEA Washington Accord review during the 24-25 fiscal year, but the results yielded from that visit only became visible as a positive outcome in the June 25 IEA meeting, and that will secure ECSA status for a further 6 years in terms of Washington Accord Alliance. In relation to capacity building initiatives, ECSA renewed its mentorship agreements with Zambia, with Botswana, and with Mauritius during the period. In addition, the Engineering Accreditation Board of the Institution of Engineers Mauritius was accepted as a provisional signatory to the Washington Accord, an achievement realized under the outstanding leadership of Prof. Brandon Collier-Reid, who served as the lead mentor. Then one of the key pillars of the 23-25 strategic plan was to strengthen stakeholder engagement and enhance participation, trust, and visibility of the ECSA brand, something that our Executive for Strategy and Growth, Mr. Voltaire Shai, looks after. In support of this objective, a stakeholder engagement framework was developed and approved. More than 23 engagement sessions was held with various stakeholders, and several MOUs were concluded with ECSA. Of particular significance was the partnership with the Marketplace Academy, together with Nelson Mandela University and Deloitte, to launch the Professional Skills Development and Capacitation Project. Then ECSA also embarked on implementation of the Microsoft Dynamics CRM and Applications Portal, together with enhanced data analytics, integration capabilities, sorry, colleagues, and other tools aimed at transforming customer relationships management and operational efficiency. This is done under the guidance of both our executives for corporate support and strategy and growth. And I have to give a shout out to Keo as well for the work that she's done in this environment. The project, now only nearing its final phase, has been executed in partnership with an approved service provider responsible for delivering re-engineered business processes and modernize digital interfaces through the Microsoft Dynamics 365 customer engagement platform and a redesigned self-service portal, which I hope most of you have already used. While many of the modules have already been deployed, colleagues, and I'm really hoping that you are seeing the fruits of our labors, detailed reporting on the outcomes and the impact will form part of the 25-26 annual report. Needless to say, ECSA has finally begun catching up with 21st century technologies, and we are very, very happy about that. We move on to a formal combined assurance model, which was proposed and approved by the ECSA Audit and Risk Committee, establishing the required 4 lines of assurance. We were privileged enough to have a new executive come on board last year, and Matumelo has made such a difference in this context. I cannot even begin to explain what a difference it has made to have her on board. The combined assurance approach was actively embedded during the period, with particular emphasis on strengthening risk management processes and significantly enhancing internal controls across the organization. One of the most notable achievements for ECSA during the fiscal year was the measurable improvement in its enterprise risk management maturity level, from level 2, which is basic, as determined during the maiden assessment on 15 August, to a level 3, which is comprehensive, by 31 March 2025. Achieving this level of improvement within just 7 months is a commendable milestone that reflects discipline, implementation, leadership commitment, and organizational readiness for a more mature risk culture. The next slide highlights ECSA's human capital, really our most valuable resource. Let me acknowledge every ECSA staff member, regardless of position or division. Thank you for your perseverance and commitment. Your dedication has ensured that ECSA remains stable and continues to grow. This important portfolio also sits with our Executive for Corporate Support, Ms. Keo Modise, and during the period, ECSA renewed its organizational structure and strategy and completed the strategic workforce planning. We strengthened performance and capability through targeted learning and development initiatives, as well as several capacity building programs. Critical vacant positions were filled as directed on the slide. We also invested meaningfully in staff wellness and recognition programs, and we can confidently attest to improved employee relations, continuous policy training, and a positive shift in organizational culture. ECSA is really stronger because of the people who serve within it. During the reporting period, ECSA also revised several critical regulatory instruments. These included revisions to the ID of Work rules, the Code of Conduct of Registered Persons, the rules for the management of enforcement matters and the rules for management of improper conduct, the rules governing appeals against decisions of council, and many of these revised documents will still be presented to our Governing Council for approval, but a lot of work has gone into developing and reviewing these documents through our Improper Conduct Business Unit. In addition, ECSA also developed service charters for enforcement, improper conduct, and appeals, along with standard operating procedures for each regulatory function. New rules on the cancellation and renewal of registration were approved, and substantial revisions were made to the registration policy to improve procedural efficiencies. A major milestone for the organization was the resumption of the gazetting of tribunal outcomes, an explicit requirement of the EPA, which hadn't been implemented since 2017. This achievement significantly enhances transparency by informing the public of actions taken against registered persons for improper conduct. Then we come to our voluntary associations, which remain a very important partner for ECSA. These bodies are organized according to discipline groupings and collaborate with ECSA on matters central to the engineering profession. One of the key contributions of VAs is the role in candidacy development and mentoring programs, which provide practitioners with essential support in preparing for professional registration. One of the primary platforms for engagement, as noted by our council president, is the VA President's Forum, which convenes twice a year and is chaired by our ECSA Governing Council President. These partnerships are really valued and managed with due care. Although ECSA recognizes VAs, it does not have full operational control over how many associations seek or maintain recognition. As a result, you will see on the slide that the number of recognized VAs fluctuated over the last 3 years. By the end of the reporting period, ECSA had recognized 54 voluntary associations, several of which are also recognized as CPD licensed bodies. The final strategic imperative for the 24-25 financial year focused on regulating and assuring definitions and fees for engineering work. A significant victory for the engineering fraternity, also as noted by our council president, was ECSA's agreement with the Competition Commission of South Africa, which enabled the resumption of publishing the professional guideline fees. Another critical regulatory instrument is the identification of engineering work, first published in 2021. As noted by our president, during the reporting period, ECSA embarked on nationwide roadshows to build on earlier sector engagements, and this was really a significant milestone for ECSA, and a lot of positive feedback came from that. These sessions were instrumental in clarifying and contextualizing the identification of engineering work rules and in gathering our stakeholders' inputs for future refinement. We engaged over 60 stakeholder groups, including public and private sector bodies, higher education institutions, provincial and municipal departments. Following the roadshows, ECSA invited organizations to submit compliance plans, outlining their pathways towards ensuring that their practitioners attain professional registration. To date, 127 organizations have submitted these compliance plans, and these plans are really essential as they will directly inform the enforcement of the rules across the sector. Then we come to a place of looking ahead. ECSA finalized its 25 to 2030 strategic plan by the end of the reporting period. As highlighted on the slide, we have introduced subtle but meaningful refinements to our vision, our mission, and our values, a renewed commitment to our stakeholders as we position ECSA as a global leader in engineering regulation, championing professional excellence, sustainability, and the assurance of the safety of the public. Achieving this ambition requires that ECSA continues to set and uphold rigorous standards for engineering education and professional practice, drive sustainability and economic growth through expanding the base of registered persons, and fostering a culture of inclusion across the engineering sector. ECSA really remains committed to living its values, to be accountable in fulfilling our obligations in a transparent and responsible manner, thereby building more trust, to become more agile in proactively anticipating and adapting to challenges, to changes in our internal and our external environments, to conduct our business with integrity, ensuring ethical behavior and transparency in everything we do, to work collaboratively with all of our stakeholders, and to recommit to becoming more customer-centric, prioritizing and working towards meeting the needs and expectations of our stakeholders. We acknowledge that we are still not there. We are on a journey, but ECSA is experiencing significant positive transformation, and we look forward with optimism and determination to the future. I conclude by presenting the strategic objectives that will guide ECSA over the next 5 years. Our focus will be on ensuring that our regulatory instruments remain fully compliant with national and international standards, maintaining a rigorous accreditation system that upholds global credibility, strengthening the engineering skills pipeline, enhancing internal controls, risk management, and good governance practices, and continuously improving efficiency, effectiveness, and sustainability to drive superior organizational performance. And with that, back to you, Mr. Program Director. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bothma, for that comprehensive yet short presentation. Colleagues, time is now 9:40. We'll take a 5-minute recess break and we'll be back by 9:45. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I hope we had a great stretch. Our next item, we're going to be calling upon our Chief Financial Executive Officer, Mr. Francois Engelbrecht, to provide us with the financial overview of the 2024-2025 financial year. Over to you, Francois.
Good morning, everybody, especially the members of the Governing Council and my fellow members of the Executive Committee, but also the other colleagues in ECSA. It's my privilege to present to you the 25 financial results. I started with the organisation in the beginning of October, so I have to express my sincere thanks to the acting CFO, her team and other colleagues in preparing these financials. Can I move on to the next slide, please? On the strategic roadmap, I think it's a few slides on, I want to quickly talk about the road we've been to and where we're going with the, thank you very much. We started, our financials are underpinned by continuing looking for a clean audit through good corporate governance as well as strong financial controls, and we've achieved that during the last 5 years. We are looking for maintaining our long-term sustainability through continuous looking at diversifying our revenue streams as well as collecting our debt. Debt collection remains a strong focus in the finance team specifically, with the support of the Governing Council, at the same time trying to maintain the active memberships. Dr. Bothma has mentioned our continued focus on trying to get our IT systems in line with the new in line with the new automation priorities with the new membership portal and the way it interfaces with our financial systems. We're not there yet, but we are continuously working towards getting our financial systems supporting ECSA and its goals. I want to quickly talk about the revenue growth in the next slide. Our revenue grew 29% since 2020, with strong growth coming from the annual fees. Annual fees grew from 116 million to 140 million, with total revenue growing 29% from 139 million to almost 180 million in 2025. We also, as I've mentioned before, we're also looking to grow revenue streams, and we can see positive outcomes there, especially on application fees as well as on other income, which is driven by market-related investment returns. On the next slide, I want to highlight the relationship between our expenses and our revenue. We saw a 12% growth in expenses from 2020. Can I get the next slide, please? Our expenses grew to 188 million in 2025. We started in the 2020 view at 168 million. The deficit in that year was 28 million. In 2024, it was 11 million, and then it dropped again to 9 million in 2025. The drop in 2025 was predominantly or partly due to increased accruals, increased provisions for bad debts during 2025. Payroll and staff-related expenses remained the biggest contribution in our expense line, of approximately 60% of our total expenses being paid to employees. On the next slide, I want to talk to our collection, our debt collection focus. I know it's a busy slide, but I want to quickly highlight the green line, which talks to debtors as a percentage of revenue, which is it peaked at in 2024 at almost 70%, which is extraordinarily high, and it dropped to 45% in 2025, which is still high, but at least it's moving in the right direction, and we are continuing our efforts to collect our debt and bring it more in line to historical trends. On the red line, we talk about bad debt as a percentage of trade debtors. You can see in 2024 we didn't have a bad debt write-off. That was as a result of the Governing Council suspending bad debt write-off in 2024 in an effort to maintain the membership, the active membership, and giving the members an opportunity to bring their accounts up to date. We are seeing it in 2025. We did then see an increased bad debt provision because we didn't have one in 2024. But again, it's rough. The percentage of bad debt as a percentage of trade debtors is roughly in line with previous trends, and we're hoping to bring that down in the near future. On the next slide, I want to quickly talk about the balance sheet. Our reserves ended up at 115 million at the end of 2025. It started off in 2020 at 37 million, so there was a significant growth in our reserves. We're also quite strong on the cash balances with 24 million in the year 2020, peaking at 72 million in 2024. It dropped slightly in 2025 due to our continued investment in IT systems as well as in people. And I think that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much, Francois. Colleagues, we are going to move on to our next item, which is the question and answer session. I hope we're all ready to go through these questions. President, I will be reading the questions from the chat, with the first one coming from Lindron Govender. The question is, with the phasing out of national diplomas for technicians and the introduction of bachelor in engineering degrees, should graduates of bachelor engineering degrees register as professional engineering technologists or professional engineers?
I'm sorry, Patu, I did not catch the question. Mr. President, did you hear it clearly?
Actually, I was going to say the same. Program Director, please, can you repeat that question?
Thanks, President. The question is, with the phasing out of national diplomas for technicians and the introduction of bachelor engineering degrees, should graduates of bachelor engineering register as professional engineering technologists or professional engineers?
Program Director, can you take three questions, read them, then we respond in a set of three questions?
Okay, thanks for that. The next question is from Agilan Woodley. Is saying bachelor engineering is NQF level 8 and will lead to a PRH application, whereas, okay, it's answering the question that was addressed above. Let me go to the next question. It's from Vivian Rocha. It's saying, I'm inquiring as to registration as a retired PR engineer? If possible, please inform about the process.
Let's take the last question.
The last question is, what is the update on the bulletin that was sent out in 2020 for the Bachelor Engineering Technologist Honours being on hold regarding the recognition for registration as candidate engineer?
Okay. Thank you, Program Director. Dr. Bodma. It looks like all these questions relate to your division.
Let me address the first one. I know it's been answered in the chat as our program director indicated. With the phasing to register, please keep in mind that the courses that you have concluded on, so a qualification that you obtained was accredited by ECSA, it remains accredited by ECSA. So we have on our website documents that we call our E20 series. So each of the E20 documents refers specifically to the courses that have been accredited by ECSA at a certain, and the ones that phase out, and then the route that you can follow in terms of registration. So for a person that wants to register as a professional engineering technologist, you have to hold a qualification at NQF level 7. And for a person that wants to register as a PReng, you have to hold a qualification at NQF. Alternative route pathways, which you can inquire. You send an email to engineer@ecsa.co.za, and we can guide you in terms of the pathway you can follow. But phasing out of programs, if it was accredited, ECSA allows for that phased out program to retain its accreditation status at the point being phased out. That's the first question. The second one, I think, was from Vivian. Vivian, you asked, you are a retired professional engineer or a retired engineer. I think the first question I would ask is whether you have ever been. If you have, there's a certain process to follow, but if you've never been registered with ECSA, unfortunately, you have to follow the normal registration pathway, even as a retired person, because it does mean you want to be active within the industry. So ECSA does want to take you through and ensure that you adhere to the competency standards prior to we recognizing you. I would advise that for you send an email to registration@ecsa.co.za, and our senior manager compliance will assist you in terms of the registration process. Then when it comes to the registration pathway that ECSA has developed for the technologist that wants to move toward candidates or the candidate engineer status, the reason why we put the honors degrees on, for that matter, on hold is because the HEI of qualifications, we call it. So it's a qualification at level 8, so either honors and PGDIP, but plus the professional master's degree, because that is the pathway. Both have to hold qualification. Way. See professional mark from some of our HEIs, but we don't any suite of will remain on hold as a single qualification until a university or a private provider can bring to ECSA the honors PGDIP plus the professional masters. Those two will be endorsed together, accredited together, and it will open up the pathway for graduates from the professional masters to then register as a candidate engineer. Thank you, Mr. Program Director and Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bothma. There was a question on how to get employment at ECSA as a bachelor engineering graduate. And then the next one is from Andre. It says, the current CPD system is very rigid in terms of category 1 development for senior engineers. The available qualifying CPD training is very basic. Could ECSA consider evaluating and accepting self-development programs, or is it too labor-intensive for ECSA? I'm trying to get to the next question. So the next question is saying, please indicate what the status is concerning the comments submitted related to the identification of engineering work standard. In my opinion, there are still many gaps in the standard. Can we address those 3 questions? Then we can proceed. Thank you, President.
Okay. Dr. Bodma, okay. I'm not sure about the first one, about the employment. You're the acting CEO. You can also address that one. Yeah,
Thank
I think
you.
all the questions, you can please address them.
Thank you, Mr. President. How to get employment at ECSA? So please be mindful that while ECSA do want to employ more registered professionals, we've only got a few within ECSA. We are an administrative body. That is what we do. We administer and regulate the profession. So it's not that we employ registered persons only. Most of our staff are professionals in other disciplines. But obviously ECSA does advertise its positions on social media through PNet. So the only way to get employment with ECSA is to go through the normal processes when a position is advertised. So I can't give any more information other than that. So have a look out on PNet, on LinkedIn, because we do advertise externally once positions are opened. Then in terms of CPD and specifically category 1A being rigid, it is true because we do, I want to make it very clear that a category 1A a CPD event needs to be ECSA validated. If it is an international event, we validate it through different channels internally. So there's a different category for self-development opportunities for which you can also get credits. But it is important to understand that the only way that ECSA can make certain that category 1A opportunities are sufficient to cover professional development within that specific category is through the validation of same. That's why we've got voluntary associations that become licensed bodies, as well as higher education institutions that become licensed bodies, because they then make sure that the service providers for CPD are validated to ensure that the activities that they offer are also validated. So I do want to note that if there are any issues in terms of those validated activities that might not cover the scope of professional development within a particular discipline, the best place to start is with your voluntary association to highlight the fact that you are not sufficiently covered through the validated activities. And then the VAs and the licensed bodies will again step into a conversation with ECSA as necessary. But our VAs are our most important partners with our higher education institutions through being recognized as licensed bodies to look after category 1A, category 1A validated activities. I hope I've answered that question. Then in terms of the status of the idea of engineering work, colleagues, I must be honest, so with the nationwide roadshows and the fact that we've had so many stakeholders that gave inputs, we have really tried to incorporate most, if not all, of the comments that came in. Obviously, with a view on regulating, we cannot take every single person's input and ensure that that becomes part of the idea of work rules. So at the moment, we are at a place where we want to re-gazette So we've really looked at, incorporated, considered, critically engaged with all the inputs, and we are at a place of re-gazetting. So I do think, and I mean, this doesn't fall within the ambit of my particular responsibilities, but I do think there will be a chance for a next round if we do decide the idea of work still have gaps, and then we will start the process again. Nothing is ever static except for legislation, which is the EPA. But if we do need to look at further gaps, that might be something that we can look at in future for a next round of inputs. But for now, we are at a place of looking to re-gazette. Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Program Director.
Thank you very much, Dr. Potma. The next question is, can you explain what exemption in the PA is all about? And then the other one is, will ECSA introduce streamlined digital tools for accreditation evidence submissions to reduce administrative burdens? And then the last one from Lungisani, for those who are undertaking a master's coursework, what is the process for registration as a candidate engineer? On the website, there are no fees attached, so where do we get the amount? Mr. President.
Can you repeat the first question?
The first question was, what is exemption all about in the EPA?
I'm not sure if Dr. Potma, you caught that one. It's an open-ended.
It is. Let me try, Mr. President. Let me give it a go. So when it comes to exemptions, I'm going to give some examples. So obviously, ECSA looks at really individual circumstances when it comes to payment of fees and making sure that you comply with CPD. So let me give you an example. And please do look at our website, because we also state our exemptions very clearly. So for a retired person, there are certain exemptions in terms of fees and in terms of complying to CPD, and we spell it out. So a person can retire from the age of 55, but still want to be practicing within the engineering context, and then we say you have to stick to 30 hours or less per month, or 300 hours or less per annum, but then you can, for instance, still mentor within mentor candidates within the context. And then there are certain exemptions in terms of the fees that you pay and the CPD that is required from you. There are also obviously other exemptions related to payment of fees, but I would advise go to the website, find the document on exemptions, and you will find the detail in that document. I think I'm going to stand on that, Mr. President, because I don't want to go through the whole list, but I think the website document is sufficient for the colleague to look into. Then in terms of streamlined digital tools, absolutely. That is what we are working towards. I don't know if the asker of the question has engaged at all with the ECSA portal yet. So it starts with the portal where the registered person really now has the control over their personal information and how they update it. It's very important for your Privy Seal digital certificate to ensure that what is in your personal profile, it pulls through to your digital certificate. So important that you use the portal regularly. There's a CPD portal where you can now upload and check the status of your CPD credits on the annum, ensure that you understand where you are to make sure that you reach the 3 credits per annum, but also the 25 credits over the 5-year cycle. We are definitely also looking at further developments going forward, bringing in a bit of AI to assist us with vetting. The registration application process already is a lot easier because of all the documentation being added into the CRM. So there's no more emails to and fro. We are seeing excellent turnaround times now on applications coming through, where ECSA really struggled to keep to the 5-month turnaround time in the past. We're now seeing registrations happening within a 3-month period, and we're hoping to cut down on that even further. We're also developing a PVA bot that is going to enhance how we engage with our stakeholders. A lot more questions that you can ask that you'll get real-time answers to. We're looking at different types of integration tools to ensure that our own systems integrate better, to ensure that we can provide better integrated reporting, data analytics that is real-time and the like. So there's a lot happening at ECSA. We still have a bit of a way to go, but it's looking good. So most definitely yes on that question. Then on the last one, a person busy with a coursework master's. Please remember that a coursework master's on its own, again, it's not a registration pathway. So I don't know what your baseline qualifications are. So if you, for instance, have a BEng qualification and you are now doing a master's degree in addition to change discipline, that is something ECSA can consider. But if you are doing a coursework master's on top of other qualifications, that is not a registration pathway currently. The only additional pathway that ECSA currently has is for the technologist that has a BTech to also complete a BTech honors plus a professional master's. And there's a very particular and specifically benchmarked professional master standard that qualification needs to adhere to. I can say with confidence that currently ECSA has not yet accredited any kind of a master's, whether coursework, professional in nature. So currently what will probably happen if you come to ECSA for applying to register, you will most probably need to go through the alternative route where your qualifications and your experience might be looked at as an individual assessment. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Program Director.
Thank you, Program Director.
Thanks, Mr. President. There's a question which says, please comment on professional fees in education sector. And then the other one, it's a comment saying ECSA is not keeping its fee structure up to date. It has just been hushed up to fill KPI. Here's my question. Why is this a landmark victory for the engineering profession per your email, and why has there been a hater since 2021? The last one, just bear with me, Mr. President. It says, I was granted a letter of recognition as a competent person under A19 of National Building Regulation. I am in good standing with ECSA. I am failing to understand why I cannot get a recognition more recent. Let's say another letter with actual date. I am keeping the old letter to prove that I am competent to carry a fire rational assessment and wet services. How can I get a recent letter? Mr. President?
Thank you, Program Director. Can you repeat the fee structure one? I'm not sure if that will fall under the CFO or Dr. Bodmer. Just repeat that one.
Just hold on. So it's saying ECSA is not keeping its fee structures up to date. It has just been hushed up to fill KPIs. Here is my question. Why is this a landmark for the engineering profession? Per your email. and why has there been a hiatus since 2021?
Dr. Potma?
Mr. President, I don't really understand that question. I would have loved to have Francina in the room. I do know that ECSA does update our fee structures. And to my knowledge, it is being it is updated on the website. I think what does happen if you do a general search, just go in and do a general search, you will find ECSA fee structures from the past popping up, but we do keep the structure on the website. We do try to keep that current. So I'm not really sure what is being referred to in the remainder of the question. Fee structure is not a KPI for ECSA. I mean, it's a council regulated decision being taken in terms of structures. So that is not a KPI for us. So I'm not sure how to answer that one. I'm sorry, Mr. President. I don't know if Francois, if you maybe have Francina on the side that she can guide you in terms of that fee structure. But as far as I know, the new one is on the website.
Yeah, maybe we can continue responding to the competent person, the fire and the wet service that falls under your division, Dr. Potman.
So I need to understand, so the NHBRC letter is the issue, it seems, because the NHBRC letter is the one that is outdated. And I want to make it clear that ECSA does not have any kind of a mandate to step into the NHBRC's context. I mean, they are a regulator just like ECSA. So what they do on their side, ECSA doesn't have control over it. I can state that obviously, when you are professionally registered with ECSA in a particular category, then we deem you as a competent person. So when I listen to the request, it is that this person might be a professionally registered technician or technologist, and they want to work within or their scope of work falls within the scope of work of a specified category of a fire practitioner. My question would be whether this person has also registered in the specified category of fire practitioner. That would be the easiest route to go, to have double registration with ECSA. That is why the specified category is there. But I cannot speak to the updating of a competency letter through the NHBRC. That is as far as I can provide input on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
The first question regarding the professional fees in the education sector, did you get that one, Dr. Potman?
I heard that one, Mr. President, but I'm not sure that I am the right person to answer on this one. I would have loved to have Mr. Numalu or Nanisa on the call. So I'm not exactly sure, but I would love to engage with that question. So I would ask that maybe an email be sent. I don't mind my email being out there, Mr. President. So please, on that particular question, email to francisca@exa.co.za and let me engage with it and find out exactly what this person needs, and then we'll send feedback to them.
Yeah, maybe just based on the number of questions that we have received, if you don't have a base qualification, as Dr. Potma has indicated, we do have an alternative route, and the alternative route is on case by case. So it's very difficult for ECSA to respond to alternative route because we need to check your combination of qualifications, your experience. So most of the time, the alternative route, it will be on case by case. So anyone who would like to explore that, they can also send their details to Dr. Potma, and then it can be looked on case by case. Back to you, Program Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next question is from Andre, saying from BEng Tech and honors that both sits with the honors on NQ level 8, Why does this pathway have to proceed to professional masters? That is another 2 more years for registering as a candidate engineer. The next one is from Vuyo saying, will ECSA consider subsidizing or reducing CPD cost for practitioners in rural provinces to encourage compliance and professional development? The next question, Mr. President, is as a professional registered engineer that progressed in his or career into engineering leadership position, not actively involved in direct engineering work, how can registration be maintained through CPD points options? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bodmer.
Thanks, Mr. President. So on the first one, the BEng Tech plus the BEng Tech Honours, still needing the professional masters, it is really related to the GAs and the fact that the knowledge areas, and particularly the sciences and the mathematics knowledge areas, are not sufficiently covered in depth in the BEng Tech or in the BEng Tech Honours. So what happens is that when ECSA looks at the suite of qualifications, we see the NQF Level 8 BEng Tech Honours, we see that as the, let's call it the bridging qualification that needs to address all the required knowledge areas, whether it be the natural sciences, the mathematics, or the engineering sciences knowledge areas. It has to bridge the gap at that level. So the actual GAs for the full suite of qualifications are only measured at the end, or the graduation side, the obtaining of your qualifications, so at the exit level of the professional masters. So before ECSA put a hold on the accreditation of the level 8 qualifications, we did look at the content of those honours and PG dips that are being offered. And the ECSA Accreditation and Training Committee was not sufficiently comfortable that the knowledge areas across the board for all the GAs have been addressed at the level 8. And that is why the professional masters is so important, to ensure that all GAs are completed at the exit level of the level 9 qualification. So there is no other option, and that is why that pathway exists. So that is on the first one from Andre. Then will ECSA consider subsidizing CPD? So this is a conversation that we are having within the executive committee. ECSA, obviously, currently we don't get any kind of government funding. We are trying to engage through our CETAs, but also through other organizations that we are stepping into MOUs with. We don't have a solution yet. We understand there is an issue, especially for our registered persons in rural and underdeveloped areas, to get access to affordable CPD. So it is an ongoing research project, because it was also commissioned through our registration committee, and our council supported that. So that research is being done through our research business unit sitting under our Executive for Strategy and Growth. So we are taking it to heart. We know it is a struggle. It's not something that we are taking lightly. And if we do get traction on that, we will definitely go back with our solutions to the fraternity. Then in terms of a person being registered as a PRN forever and now in a leadership position, there are definitely options in terms of CPD 1A categories. I think it is just about stepping into a conversation with ECSA so that we can guide you to understand what is required. To our minds, I know one of the perspectives we do keep is that even if you are in a management position, but you are registered with ECSA within a particular discipline, it is still that discipline that the public out there will see you practicing in. And I think that's the divide we need to gap, to ensure that if we register you as a professional engineer in civil engineering, and you are now in a management position, but you at some point take on work as a civil engineer, how does ECSA make sure that we are protecting the public if we change the requirements for CPD? But definitely something that I would not mind engaging that person with. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Podma. Maybe let me just amplify the issue of CPD. ECSA, we've presented that ECSA is part of the International Engineering Alliance. And as part of being in that body, we need to keep up with the international standards. Some of you colleagues, you will know that you were registered with ECSA for life. But in 2007, we introduced CPD. And the purpose of introducing CPD, we wanted to make sure that we are aligned with other countries who are part of IEA. So whatever we are doing every 6 years, IEA, they also review our standards. So it's important for us to be aligned with IEA. But each and every jurisdictions, they have their own challenges. Like, for example, in Africa, we are the only jurisdiction that is registered with IEA. And other jurisdictions, they don't have the challenges that were mentioned earlier on regarding the CPD individuals who are in rural areas. So we are taking that matter very seriously, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we comply with the IEA standards. But we are working on that one and we're taking it seriously. And the issue of articulation, Dr. Podma has addressed that because there's been complaints that you can't articulate from technologies to an engineer. That pathway was there for that reason, but we haven't used it because we need to satisfy ourselves that it meets the basic for the PEng or the BSc engineering. And if you check the BSc engineering or the PEng, the 4-year degree, the first 2 years, it covers the natural science, the basics, as opposed to the other BTECs, etc. So that's why it's important that we work closely with the education committee and the providers to make sure that in terms of the GAs, we mesh that, but it's work in progress. Back to you, Program Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next question is, I am registered as a candidate, but next year I won't be working. Is it possible for ECSA to provide me with the waiver for the 2 years that I won't be working? And then the next question is, does ECSA have a PREng computer discipline? I am struggling to find a mentor in this field as I am currently registered as a candidate engineer in this discipline. Does ECSA make provision for IT-related projects? In South Africa, most IT projects do not follow the traditional engineering project structure. How should one prepare a report for PREng in relation to this? And then the next one is, I would like to know how much is it to register as a professional technologist if you are currently a professional technician registered? Over to you, Mr. President.
Dr. Podma?
Sorry, Mr. President, can I just catch the last one? I didn't get I don't know if it's my connection cutting, but I didn't get the last question.
Just repeat it, Director, regarding the costing.
It says, I would like to know how much is it to register as a professional technologist if you are currently registered as a professional technician?
Thank you, Mr. Program Director and Mr. President. So the first one, in terms of the candidate not working or not going to work next year, this is obviously an individual request to ECSA. So that is definitely possible. It is really a tough situation, colleagues. We understand that paying fees while you're not working is it's not an ideal situation. So it is obviously something that falls within the ambit of responsibilities of our CFO and our manager for finance. But yeah, we are also trying with different initiatives to see whether we can cover some of the candidates that are really struggling with payment of annual fees through our SETAs. We've had some success in that. Our EW SETA, the energy and water sector SETA, have really come to the table, and they paid for some of our struggling candidates in the previous 2 years. So it might be that we can again try to link your candidacy payment fee to one of the SETA's offerings, but it is something you will have to step into a conversation with ECSA with. This is an important matter that you send through to engineer@ecsa.co.za, because all the finance-related queries are sent through that particular email. So please step into a conversation through engineer@ecsa.co.za timeously before we cancel your registration due to non-payment of fees. So thank you for that question. And we do have empathy for our candidates and professionals struggling to pay fees. Then in terms of computer engineering, yes, we do have computer engineering as a discipline. So most definitely you can register as a candidate or a professional within computer engineering. We also currently are building an initiative that we are calling the Mentor-Mentee Connector Program. We have just had the Mentor-Mentee Connector Program project plan approved through our registration committee. And in Q4, we're going to start actively working on that initiative to see how we can better support our candidates who do not have mentorship with someone that can actually support and guide them. So in terms of that particular program, what ECSA does is we train up the mentors for free. It is true. One of the disciplines that we are struggling with to get mentors in is definitely computer engineering, but it doesn't mean we don't yet have someone on our database. We obviously try to link up the candidate with a person within their province so that there's a bit of accessibility, but mentorship can also be managed online. So I think the best possible option for you is to send an email to engineer@ecsa.co.za. In your subject line, note Mentor-Mentee Connector Program. That request will go through to my manager for stakeholder compliance, that is Mr. Ivan Horner, and he will pick up on that and see if we can at least for now link you up with a mentor so that you get some guidance prior to us developing the Mentor-Mentee Connector Program further. Then on the last one on registration fees, I don't have the fees open in front of me. Francina, I know that you are on the call. Can I ask, you don't need to put on your camera, that you, through you, Mr. Program Director and Mr. Chair, in terms of an application fee, I think it sits at about 9,000. Francina, if you can maybe just give us an indication, or Francois, if you've got that information with you. I do want to say, while Francina or Francois is looking into that, colleagues, please be mindful that an application fee for ECSA is a cost recovery exercise mostly. So we use peer reviewers, we call them virtual panel members. We use them throughout the process. So the only thing that happens within ECSA that ECSA does itself is the vetting of your submission. So that is obvious. There's a vetting fee attached to us doing the vetting. But everything thereafter, the experience appraisal assessment, the moderation, the professional review, the interview panel, the moderation of the interview panel, everything in relation to that is being done by a panel of peer reviewers that are registered persons within the category that you try to register in, and ECSA needs to pay them. So the cost of that application fee is mostly to cover the cost of the people that we pay to do that work for us in the registration process. Thank you, Mr. Program Director. Mr. President.
Right, thank you, Dr. B. Just to answer the issue of the price there, for candidate is sitting currently at 5,463, and then for professionals it's sitting at 10,928. Thank you.
Thank you, Francina.
If Francina, if I understand the question, if you are registered already as a technician, professional technician, and you want to upgrade to a technologist, is the cost is still the same? That's what
No,
you confirm.
if you so the cost is not the same. If you're already registered, it's actually lower compared to a person who had interruption. If you are not registered, it's at 10,000, and then if you are already registered as a candidate, it's lower, sitting at 5,460.
Okay. Yeah, just to add, so if you are registered already as a professional technician and you want to be registered as a professional technologist, the rate is lower, but we can confirm the quantum, but definitely is not the same. It's lower. I think that was the main question. Thank you, Francine. Program Director, have we exhausted all the questions?
Thanks, Mr. President. No, we'll be taking the last round. The question is coming from Andre, saying, does the mentor-mentee initiative include contractual protection for both parties? And then the last one is saying, I have a civil engineering degree with honors, then pursued my professional master's in industrial engineering. I recently got employed. Can I consider professional registration after 2 years work experience with my master's? Thank you, Mr. President.
Dr. Bodmer?
Thanks, Mr. President. So on the first one, the Mentor-Mentee Connector Program, that is part of our project plan. So we do want to bring in some contractual protection for both parties. So what we are trying to do here, in order for us to be able to monitor that the relationship is being protected, that the mentor is doing what the mentor should be doing, that the mentee is actually sticking to timeframes, we are trying to develop an application whereby it's easier to measure and see what's happening on the side of both of the parties. There will definitely be an agreement that needs to be signed between the mentor and the mentee. And there will also be an evaluation of the services rendered and the way that the mentee actually engages with the mentor, so that we can also see, when we build that mentor database, that we have a solid base of mentors that are doing the job. And ultimately, we want to link it up to see which of the candidates that a mentor is mentoring, actually, when they apply for professional reg, do come through the pipeline and register with ECSA. So there's a lot of work to be done within that program, but we are we are still building the initiative. We only have the project plan approved, but definitely we want to get to a place of contractual protection for both parties. Then in terms of having a civil engineering qualification and a profession and a master's degree thereafter, that civil engineering is it a 4-year BEng? Obviously, if it's a 4-year BEng, the person can definitely register with ECSA as a professional engineer in the discipline in the discipline of civils. If it is a BTech, which I know in the past the BTech sat at a different NQF level, so at that point the BTech gave entrance to a research master's or a coursework master's at a university. That will typically be an alternative route application, because the mid qualification at the level 8 is then missing. So no, it will not provide sufficient entrance for a normal registration application. So it would really depend on what baseline qualification was prior to the master's degree. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Program Director.
Thank you, Dr. Podma, for addressing all those questions, and the other colleagues. Back to you, Program Director. I think we've exhausted the Q&A, but let's encourage, as Dr. Bodma has indicated, if there are any further questions. She has indicated that her email address can be used, and we also have engineer at ECSA.
Engineer at ECSA, and then for
Yeah.
registration specific queries, Mr. President, registration at ECSA.co.za.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Program Director. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Bothma. Thank you, Francois. Also like to thank our colleagues who are responding to the questions, Mr. Hona, Mr. Ngumalo, Ms. Mamchali Niniza, and Bulelo. Thank you so much, colleagues, for attending to some of the questions on the chat. Colleagues, we will be moving to our next item, which is our closing remarks, which will be then offered by the chairperson of our Audit and Risk Committee, which is Ms. Khomotso Maelane. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, fellow registered persons of the Engineering Council of South Africa, representatives of the voluntary associations, governing council members that are here with us, and ECSA staff. It is my privilege as the chairperson of the Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee of ECSA to be here doing the closing remarks today at our annual stakeholder briefing. I just want to say that, reflecting on today's proceedings from the President's keynote address through to Dr. Bodma's annual performance account and to our financial presentation and just now this Q&A session, it is clear that ECSA continues to make steady and notable progress. But this progress is not without challenges that we face, that we are very much aware of, and that we continue to ensure that we are working to resolving. We recognize, the areas that are still there for improvement, particularly regarding our systems, our processes, and ensuring regulatory compliance in the sector. So, however, what stands out is that we are on a positive trajectory. We're making good strides, and most importantly, we are committed as the ECSA team, from the governing council all the way to the executive management of ECSA. So as we are reflecting and looking ahead to Agenda 2030, we are determined to build on the lessons that we have learned and to improve on the strong foundation established by our 2023-2025 strategic plan. And over the next 5 years, the Council's focus will really be to live out ECSA's values of accountability to one another and to the profession that we regulate, to remain agile in responding to the ever-changing environment, and that requires us to act with speed, to execute with speed, so that we can serve the needs of the profession and, most importantly, the registered persons, and to work collaboratively with all our stakeholders that are here today to achieving more, because we can only achieve more when we work together. So we recognize that collaborative effort that will be required from the Council and all of ECSA's team. We commit to being customer-centric, and I think our key customers being registered persons, who we esteem with and are here to ensure that we serve their needs and to act with integrity, always upholding the highest of standards of ethical conduct, as we expect from council members and all stakeholders of the Engineering Council. So we are committed to improving our governance structures. We've got now a solid combined assurance division working through the Audit and Risk Compliance Committee, which I am chairing, and it is a committee that is committed, remaining accountable and transparent in everything that we do. In Dr. Bodma's presentation, she noted two of our key mandates that have been restored, which is the gazetting, the first one being the gazetting of guidelines of professional fees, and the resumption of gazetting tribunal outcomes, which is an explicit mandate of the Engineering Profession Act, and which we take very seriously, and one which ECSA had not implemented since 2017. So these achievements are very important steps to fulfilling our mandate. Then secondly, the identification of and enforcement of engineering work also remains a key strategic intent for the Council. We are strengthening our capacity both in terms of systems and processes to ensure that we can handle the expected increase in applications that will come through once the enforcement rules are gazetted. So that is something that we are currently capacitating ourselves on to ensure that we are ready for that. And this anticipated growth will help us to transform our registration database. So to all engineering practitioners today here, we encourage you to comply with the gazetted rules. And if you need guidance, please do not hesitate to reach out to the Council. We are here to assist you. And so in our ongoing efforts to safeguard the identities of registered persons, you would have noticed that we've transitioned now from the static registration certificates to the secure digital registration certificates. And we've been encouraged to see registered persons on LinkedIn and other platforms, using that digital registration certificate powered by Privy Seal. So we're very excited by that development, and I think it has resonated with a lot of needs that have come through from the engineering profession. So we just wanted to highlight, though, that static certificates will remain valid until 31 December 2025. And from 1st of January 2026, only digital certificates will be accepted as proof of registration. So we urge all registered persons, employers, and the broader profession to comply with this important change. And if you need any guidance in terms of how to ensure that you go onto the new system, the emails that have been mentioned here earlier, I think the engineer at ECSA, and specifically for registration purposes, the registration at ECSA, we will be there to assist you with ensuring that you comply with that. So today has been a really fruitful discussion, and on our side, we're committed to ensuring that these kind of sessions, continue to be there, that we are accountable to all stakeholders in the profession. But before I close, I just want to acknowledge the 6th Term Governing Council for their work on the 2025 strategic plan and the revised 2023 to 25 plan. They've laid a really strong foundation for the current council, which came into place in April. My sincere appreciation goes to our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Bridget Samula, and the entire executive management team of ECSA, who have led this organization, and for their great leadership and vision. We really appreciate their dedication and hard work, which continues to drive ECSA to new heights. And to all registered persons, retired, active, who serve on virtual panels, facilitate registration workshops, assess engineering programs, and contribute to research and regulatory development. The Council deeply values your service and your commitment to driving the mandate of the Engineering Council of South Africa. I also wish to thank our stakeholders today, the voluntary associations, employers who ensure that engineers are registered and engineers fees are paid, and that they continue to do engineering work with the best competence. So we thank employers, we thank higher education institutions, government and industry partners. Your expertise, your commitment, your engagement are vital to the mission of ECSA. And registered persons, we recognize your expertise and your dedication. And I think we just want to sort of give that sense of professional pride and credibility and belonging to a community that is built on excellence. And I think the president earlier mentioned that we are registered with the Engineering Alliance and we are the only jurisdiction. So we're really proud of that as South Africa, and we would not want to, we belong also in other African engineering organizations, and we would want, you know, Africa to be progressing toward that. So we just want to thank you for, you know, and assure you of that professional badge of, you know, being registered with the Engineering Council of ECSA. Thank you for your patience and support as we continue to grow and to improve. Some of you may have seen some of the changes that are already in place, and we know that there were some glitches and so forth, but thank you for your patience and support as we transition towards being more digital agile. And finally, to members of the public, our commitment to you remains. We will continue to ensure that only competent professionals are registered, always with public safety as our priority. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and participation today. We look forward to engaging with you in the future, including at the 2026 Engineering Symposium, which we will host in partnership with the South African Institute of Civil Engineering. We're excited about that. Please register early and consider partnering with us through sponsorship opportunities, and we will see you there. Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies today, and all our audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Colleagues, with sincere gratitude, thank you so much for joining us today and forming part of this significant event, marking progress and achievement that would have not been possible without you all and your efforts in contributing to the advancement of the engineering fraternity and communities. ECSA remains committed to continued transparent dialogue and partnership to build trust and achieve shared objectives. Thank you once again for your time and contributions. As we near the holiday break, we would like to wish you all safe, restful, and joyful holidays with your loved ones, and I thank you.